Check 1, 2. Okay, gentlemen, the microphones are live and we are hot. It's a great day in Kershaw County, and it is a hot day in Kershaw County. We have agreed to meet for a final work session to ramp up for the budget reading tonight. Based on discussions today, there may very well be an amendment made early in the budget discussion tonight, and I'll ask your help in that. But for this, we're here to talk about salary adjustments. Just to refresh our last discussion, there is baked into the budget, as Mr. Tucker, a 2% pay rise across the board for all our people. But based on ARPA and other discussions, 4321, 321, or whatever, it was with great passion that we all came back and agreed to meet here today. We have our judge probate here, and we have our treasurer's department, and Janet, good to see you. We have EMS and our wonderful fire services, emergency services, and then, of course, Sandra. To reiterate, 2% pay rise is already baked into the budget. Over to you, Vic.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, I'm going to start by, well, maybe I'll start.
There you go.
Okay.
These are in front of us?
Yes, sir. So this is the distribution of salaries and employees of the county. The 371 full-time employees, you see the breakdown of 21 to 31, 31 to 40, 40 to 55, 55 to 80, and 80 plus. So there's a number of employees, percentage of salaries that are in those categories.
And this is before the 2%?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So the 2% is not baked into this number?
Correct.
Okay.
So starting, we began running numbers of various iterations of how we could distribute salary increases to employees to, again, benefit the people who make the least to continue moving their pay scales upwards. So looking at a 4.32%, with a 4.32% range, we would start at the 21,000 to 31,000 range with a 4%, from 31 to 55 at a 3%, and everybody over 55 at a 2%.
And that 2% is what's already in the budget?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to keep asking that question. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So what you see is the impact of the 432 on each of the four types of funds that we have. So the impact of a 432 is 574. That's not in addition to the 2%. That's just the total impact. Later on, we'll get into the differences. So the total impact on the general fund is 574,000, and each of the other funds as well.
Y'all tracking? Okay.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Then the next one is a 3.2%. Again, 2% is everything over 31,000, 3%, everything up to 31,000. Again, the impact, Again, the impact on the general fund, 469, and the other funds as well. Three, two, one. Actually, I mistyped that. The 2% is 31 to 55, and the 1% is 55 up. Sorry about that. The impact on the general fund, though, is 508,000.
Say again, which page?
We're on page 4 now, 321.
Yeah, the one on the screen, too.
I'm just wondering what was the mistyping so I can.
Oh, where I showed the range of distribution,
Uh-huh.
I had 3.2. I didn't put 1%. I left the 1% off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then 1% is 55 and up.
Gotcha.
1% is, say again, 55?
55K
Yes, sir,
and up.
55 and up.
Okay.
And then what is in the budget currently is the 2%. So to compare all those, you see apples to apples. Of the four proposals that we've gone through, we currently have $440,000 in the budget. So you can do the math. The increase is anywhere from $29,000 up to $134,000. And special revenue funds would be the impact on those funds. That would be your solid waste, 911 tariff, things like that.
Okay, just enumerate those for everybody. Solid waste, sheriff, 911.
They're not the sheriffs. Solid waste, 911 tariff. Fire, airport, economic development,
I can't hear him.
victims advocate,
Okay, victims advocate. But not sheriff.
not sheriff, no, he's in general fund.
Okay. And public works are not in this.
Public works in general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Sewer fund, their impact,
And they're here separately because they are an enterprise fund.
yes, sir. And then EMS. So of those four proposals, it's my recommendation that if council wishes to go from a 2% across the board, that we look at either a 3-2 or a 4-3-2. I'll go back to comparison again. General fund.
You're recommending what, Vic?
I'm recommending either the 4-3-2 or the 3-2. And the reason being that employees in the 55-plus category have only received 1% or no percent for the last 4 years.
Really?
So I think it's time that those department heads and those senior employees be considered as well. So that would be my recommendation, is either 4-3-2 or 3-2. Now, the question of, where would the extra money come from? As you know, budgets are constantly evolving. Sometimes up to the last second of the last day they evolve. And we finally received information on our the money we were going to have to pay for our property and liability insurance. As you recall, I'd indicated that I thought we might be getting some better numbers in, and we did. We were able to reduce what we're supposed to pay in property and liability for $110,000. So that frees up $110,000. So the 440 plus the 110, that puts us at 550 already. So finding the money for any of those won't be a problem.
Let me just ask the folks here, maybe we come back through these all again. But remember, everybody, we will have this discussion again tonight when we amend the budget. With the budget already at 2%, these substantiate a increase. And then the second bit of housekeeping is we had discussed ARPA as well.
Yes, sir.
And would you guys want to go through the whole briefing and come back to this and get a discussion going? Because we had the ARPA 1,000, 2,000 idea. What do you think? I mean,
Well, for me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, excuse me.
I was just going to say, let's finish this before we jump into the ARPA, if we could.
That's fine, but I've got some questions on my decisions on
sure.
the 432, along with what we do for the ARPA, because I know there is a request, Mr. Carpenter, on exactly what the employees are getting from ARPA. And, and I'm talking about net versus taxes.
So do we want to keep going and talk about ARPA now, or do we want to talk about?
Whatever the majority wants to do, but I just know they do intermingle.
I've got some questions.
I've got that here ready to go, but.
Let's not jump around.
All right.
Let's finish what we started, and then we can move on. I think that'd be the most orderly thing to do.
I only make that suggestion is that we'll come back to this, but everybody ought to know the full picture, because there's a lot of support for using the ARPA funds in addition to this, and not instead of.
Absolutely.
So, I'm seeing let's go ahead on this side, and Russell, I don't see a problem with coming back. How about that? All right, let's go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So again, the American Recovery Act allows governmental entities to give a bonus, for lack of a better term.
Hero pay.
Hero pay, if you wish to use that term.
Yeah. You had another slide in
I
front
know
of
it,
that. You want to move back?
maybe there, no,
No, somewhere it's not.
Should be
in.
355.
this little clicker isn't working too well.
There it is.
There it
Okay,
is.
there it is. Okay. So what's been added in the budget from ARPA, again, we received our first payment of that. We'll be receiving almost $13 million total from ARPA. We have 3.5 more years to spend it. So first thing is I'm cautioning that we take our time with it. But we're allowed to put in lost revenue. We figure that we've got close to $1 million in lost revenue. So this year we would put about $355,000 as a revenue item, which you recall we talked about that in the budget. We then are proposing that some of the studies that we need to do be funded because these were projects that we were not able to do because of COVID. So one-time studies we put in for $400,000. There's several of those that we've discussed already. COVID response. COVID response is the category that allows us to, again, whatever we need to do to respond to COVID. Since we still don't know what's going to happen with COVID, I put a lump sum of $2 million that allows us the ability during the year, if something happens, we've got the money allocated. If not, it doesn't get spent. It just goes back below the bottom line. So even though I'm budgeting to spend $2 million, we may spend none of that. So it'll still be available to us for the next 3.5 years. But if I don't budget it, then we can't spend it. And then the essential employees is roughly $1 million. I couldn't get the exact dollar amount. I know Sanders got it. And that's the bonuses for the employees.
Okay, let me catch up, Mr. Jones. Jimmy, we've just agreed that 2% is already based and baked into the budget of a pay rise that we all agreed during the working sessions we've had to date. So that's in the budget. We just went through 4321 options, and there's been no discussion. We're just going through the briefing now. And in the chart you're now seeing, we're seeing ARPA, where we're going to look at ways to do the 1,000, 2,000, such has been broadly discussed. So that's where we are. All right, back to you, Vic.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. So what you're presenting to us here, is any of that money going back, either the COVID response money, or is there something I'm not aware of, going back into our reserve fund from when we did the small business? Is any part of that this year that you've got baked into 4 years of the usage of this money going back to that account, is my first question.
We already replenished that money, so that account's fully replenished. So we don't need to put any money back into it. We were able to replenish it from our net revenues of this past year.
Plus, you can't use rainy day, you can't put ARPA money in rainy day funds, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But we are allowed to repay ourselves.
Repay, yeah.
Right.
So we can repay ourselves that money. So
yep.
would it go into a rainy day fund? Yes, but we would be actually repaying ourselves. It's more semantics than anything there.
But to Sammy's point, we've already refurbished our account for that $1 million that we gave to small business. That $1 million paying us back, is this on that chart?
That would be part of the lost revenue, because my thought is that we can spread that out over 4 years. So instead of taking it all in 1 year, is that we kind of keep that as something that we can anticipate for the next 3 years.
Okay.
Being able to pay ourselves back money that we either did not collect or that we spent in response to COVID.
Okay, and then my next question is the essential heroes pay for essential employees. What would that number look like? There's interest from myself, and I know Councilman Jones, yes, because I did speak to you, Councilman Snodgrass. And I don't want them to get 2,000 and 1,000, then Uncle Sam eats up 30% of that. We're more interested in it netting 2,000 and 1,000.
That's
What you
on the
see
next chart.
is
That's
how
on
we
this chart.
have figured it
Look at
out.
the next
So,
chart.
so the full-time employees would have a gross of 2,500. After standard deductions are taken out, they'd end up with 1,988. Part-time would be about the same. The problem, Mr. Tucker, in coming up with an exact figure is some people have full coverage, some don't. Some people have 0 deductions, some people have 7 deductions. So every check will still be different. So we can't come up with a uniform amount based on their deductions withholding. So that's going to be using a standard tax range of 150 to 300, state tax of 75 to 120, et cetera. That's what we've come up with. So a $2,500 per full-time employee and $1,250 for part-time employee would net very close to that amount for most employees.
And that makes good sense to me. I mean, I completely understand the deduction part. And if they can't find $12 somewhere in the kitty, I'm really not going to have a lot of compassion.
Now, for accounting's sake, we're asking that we go ahead and wait until August, September, October to make the checks, because it'd have to be run separately. Running it for the 1st of July when they're closing the budget out will be an awful lot. So we would say that if approved by council, that we would make those checks out sometime toward the end of the summer, early fall is when the checks would become. So they would have them plenty of time for the holidays as well. But it would allow us to have the audit trail that we're going to have for every dollar we spend. We're going to have a very strong audit trail on them, and that gives staff the time to focus on it. The actual amount's a little over 1.2 million. I said approximately a million. It's about 1.2 when you throw in all the fringes and what have you.
Mr. Carpenter, this money's it's very strict on what you can spend it on, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a narrow pathway. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I don't know who came up with this idea about the letting employees bring home 2,000. I think that's a great idea.
Pat yourself on the back, Mr.
And I
Jones.
certainly support that. And I certainly
I'm glad
support.
y'all got on board with it.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm saying, I'm glad y'all, that side of the desk got on board with the.
Well, it's a good thing. It's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
And I agree with the 2% across the board this year. You know, I said in the beginning of this, before we talked about fire, police, EMS, anything, the employees to me came number one this year. This was their year. And we're very fortunate that we've got this opportunity, that we've got this money, and it's going to be no additional increase to any taxpayers what the employees get, because this is money that we've got to use, and employees happens to be part of it. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, and also, let me just say this. None of this would have been feasible if you hadn't have brought the first initial request before us. So I appreciate that.
So the total for ARPA, again, I was, in putting this together, I used, off the top of my brain, which isn't always that good, so I didn't give you the exact amount but it is in the budget that you have in front of you. In the packet, it has every dollar for ARPA that I'm recommending. The additional areas, I don't know why this doesn't want to work for me, but there it is. So the essential employee is about 1.2 million, roughly. Then the other categories were to purchase land for the sewer plant expansion, which we're allowed to do, $400,000, and to finish redoing the council chambers so we can live stream everything without the glitches for another $50,000. So a total of $4,055,000 is in the budget. But again, of that, the $2 million, I don't know that we would ever spend, and so we'd have that for future years. So I'm recommending of the $13 million, roughly $4 million be set aside in this budget, so it's available to us to spend. And that's in your packet that you received on Friday.
Mr. Carpenter, question. This is, this may be a sidebar conversation, but in the stuff I was reading about ARPA, saw the language about sewer, about even stormwater management and infrastructure. So would there be any parameter to set money aside for, areas of our county that has bad stormwater issues, and knowing that we're going to need to be needing some grant matches and all sorts of things to move forward that? Does that qualify, you think?
We're still waiting on that kind of
Okay.
a better guidance for stormwater. That is a topic that has come up. Again, the $2 million COVID response, that's, in my mind, one of the things that could be done if we needed to do a project related to some stormwater issues. We'd have the money available that we could do it. Again, I just call it COVID response because that's a broad category,
Right.
but it would be but whether we can use it for a match, for engineering, those are things we're still waiting on to see. For sewer, for stormwater, those capital projects, they haven't given us the full details, but the fact that we were able to spend it on stormwater would lead me to say, yes, we could.
Okay. So that's, all right, I'll talk to you about that separately.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please.
So on the plan so far, I like the 432. I've always thought we need to catch up the folks on the lower end and adjust the pay scale in some meaningful way, because over the last decade plus, many of us haven't been on council, but in some ways, it hasn't even kept up with inflation. So I could support the 432. But after doing some more research on this ARPA discussion, I can't support a bonus of $1,000 or $2,000 to employees. And I want to explain my rationale, and I hope that y'all will see that maybe it doesn't make sense to do at this time with these funds because they're designated in a particular way and they're eligible for projects that I think are more potent and necessary for us to address at the time. Last study, I think we had, got a number from Danny probably 2 years ago, that there's 28,000 full-time workers in Kershaw County. And I think the number we typically use is like 21,000 or so leave each day and go and work in other areas. Does that sound fair or about right? I mean, that's kind of the ratio that I've heard used before. So say it's 7,000 or 8,000 people that work full-time in Kershaw County. This move of taking $1 million of ARPA funds would treat specially a subset of, what, 400 or how many county employees are there?
371 full.
371. So we would be taking government employees and treating them especially by giving them a $1,000 or $2,000 bonus when you have thousands of other people who work in Kershaw County full-time. And these funds are not designed to benefit government necessarily. These are supposed to benefit the entire county. And one of the rationales I've heard is hero pay, and these are essential workers. They weren't allowed to go home, and I actually had someone who's an elected official make the argument that they weren't allowed to sit at home and collect unemployment, additional bonuses, and government pay and stuff like that. Like that was a good thing. But you have so many other people in Kershaw County that were essential workers who continued to work and aren't looking at a $1,000 or $2,000 bonus. To me, we need to focus on sewer and some other things that are more important. We acknowledge the raises that need to occur through the 432. And then we use these funds on things that are really exigent, like sewer. Our capacity has to be expanded, gentlemen. It really does. I don't know why we would take $1 million and select 371 people out of many essential workers in Kershaw County that aren't getting bonuses. And so, and that's just me, private sector approach to it. You know, my employees and others in businesses I'm involved in, we're so thankful to be able to continue to have their jobs and have benefits and that kind of thing. They didn't look at it as a, you know, I wish I was at home. And I'm not saying any of our employees feel that way, but I've had that argument made to me that, you know, if some people got to sit at home and collect money. Well, I think it's much better to be working and be a productive member of society. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the issue. And I think we've got more pressing matters to use those funds for because we're allowed to.
Mr. Chair?
Sir, please.
Mr. Conner, I've always respected your opinion and your thoughts, and even this afternoon or this morning, I still do. I just happen to not agree because when these employees were sitting here not getting a dime, some of the public sector and members of Kershaw County were getting pay rises and living happy and was happy for whatever their employer were doing for them. And we've got once in a lifetime opportunity to do right by all our county employees. And sitting here on my 17th year, I've never had this opportunity until today, till this budget cycle. And I think it would be just a waste of a good opportunity to do right by the people that you depend on the most for the services that this county renders to our citizens. And so for that reason, I'm going to support both the pay rise and the ARPA hero pay for our Kershaw County employees.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You know, I think that at any time, this council, a majority of them, could move funds from unrestricted reserves into a bonus. I mean, if we're motivated, you can make that happen, right?
No, I don't think you can do that.
Well, Mr. Jones, in the past, you've advocated bonuses, right?
I have, and I've been told you cannot do that. That's why I'm giving you the response I'm giving you. I've been told you cannot do that, but yes, I have. So I'm not going to get backed in a corner on this one. I've pushed and pushed for bonuses at certain times for employees because we didn't have the money I felt like to be reoccurring. So let's give them a one-time 400 or whatever. And I've been told that that is not permissible. Am I correct on that, Mr. Carpenter?
That's the attorney's opinion, yes, sir.
Attorney's opinion.
I know I had a conversation with Mr. Ken that went in a different direction. But at any rate, I
That's possible.
don't think that just because this money has landed in our lap, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get sewer right. I mean, you may disagree.
I do
but
disagree
I
with
think
you.
that is one of the biggest issues. Folks have been particularly motivated on council to say, we need to sell the sewer system. It's one of the biggest, most important problems. I think there's another way to fix that. And we can take this $1 million and a bunch of the other $1 million to address that concern for generations by expanding sewer capacity and not laying on the citizens debt service through bonds or otherwise to address this problem that are associated with interest. Now, granted, interest rates are historically low right now. On some level, that can make sense, but I haven't seen a presentation yet that's presented a really attractive bond issuance. So I guess we see this sky as a different shade of blue. And again, you've got citizens out there who are also heroes in that sense that they were essential workers and kept their jobs and kept on working. But they're not getting bonuses. So
If I may.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. I presented this county council with a solid plan how to take care of sewer and not cost taxpayers another dime for years to come. Well, I was voted down. I know one of my colleagues is trying to put together another program that, of course, I looked at it, and it says to determine where bonds are concerned, to assess and determine where we can change over other things. Well, there's been no numbers given on that, and with all due respect, I don't think that plan is going to work at all, and I'll talk about that more tonight. We don't have any numbers. What we have been directed to do, we took a vote. When you're talking about sewer, we took a vote to allow the administrator, Sammy Tucker made the motion. I seconded it because my motion failed. I thought, well, okay, at least we're getting the administrator to look at it. Well, first off, because my colleague over here, Mr. Brazel, voted against it, he can't submit a plan to improve the sewer system because he can't bring it back before us because he he didn't vote against it, but he abstained.
That's
So
why I abstained, Jimmy, because I wanted to bring a second option.
But you cannot bring an option back, Mr. Brazel, if you abstained.
Can I not?
No, I don't think so.
Chairman?
No,
We'll get
it's
you
on
a reading.
losing end.
Yeah, let's stay on.
Well, no, let me clear this up because I want Mr. Brazel to understand
think you're right,
that
Jimmy.
I know I am. But bottom line is, if only those who voted for can bring something back before this council. Now, however, if you vote on that, Mr. Brazel, then you can certainly amend or try to bring something back. But Mr. Carpenter, we need to give you the time to do what we voted for you to do. Am I correct, Mr. Tucker?
Yes, sir.
And that's what we need to do. And that's what we're going to do because we have to. That's the rules. But getting back to the employees, guys, I tell you, Mr. Danny, I'm very tough when it comes to expecting employees to be there, do this. And I mean, no delay, get on it when it comes to providing service to the citizens, am I not? That's exactly right. And I'm very demanding on the employees because you know why? They're great employees. They do a great job. And we have an opportunity to do something for them that I'm going to absolutely support, that we won't have the opportunity to do again. And this money is not enough money to fix the sewer problem. It is not. And to insinuate that it is just, to me, not realistic. No more than some other plans that I've seen that are kind of like scattered all over the place. It's just sort of, to me, like a pea and shell game. We're shifting money here to shift money here to pay here and not pay here. Or we're not going to get you to pay it, but we're going to let this other group pay for it. Anyway, you look at it, we got to pay for it. We got the debt we got to pay for, no matter where we put that debt. In
Mr.
bonds.
Chairman, if I may.
No, I got the floor. And you can certainly talk when I finish. But if you're going to talk about bringing your plan before the council, you can't do that. Am I correct, Mr.?
it's a work session.
Yeah, this is kind of a work session here.
Yes, sir, this is not a full regular meeting of the
Yeah, I'm not
council, so-
making any rulings
Mr.
here.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, the work session, he can talk about what he wants.
Okay,
but
okay.
We're in session tonight, it won't be brought up. And
Right.
we'll
But here's
have-
what I'm saying. We talk about how we want to get rid of the sewer tax. Nobody wants to get rid of that tax more than Jimmy Jones. And I was here when it was originated. I remember when I told the county council, they said, we're going to create a special purpose district. And I said, you're only doing it for our tax. No, we're not. It's on the record. They said, no, we're not. Well, 2 months later, they created the sewer tax. So that's been an ongoing issue. But as I said, this money is very strict, and Mr. Carpenter's struggling, not struggling, but I mean, he's really putting a lot of effort into making sure that whatever we do, in his opinion, as the county administrator, is the right move to make. And as I said, when it comes to the employees, they're number one with me this year, and I'm going to support. And I know that doesn't mean they're not number one with you guys who are voting against this. I don't mean that. I'm not going to try to insinuate something that you're against that I know you're not. You just don't agree with the method that we're doing. But I hope this moves forward tonight. I hope it does. I think it'll show the employees, have a very good sign to them that we care about them, and we're putting, look, attaboys don't put food on the table. I'll tell you this, though, about the public, and you guys know how I am when it comes to constituent service. They're my boss. They call, I answer my phone. I'm there. It's 7/24. But I'm going to tell you this. We won't have the opportunity to show them how much we appreciate them ever again, I hope, with another pandemic like this. And I just appreciate it. I think I was the first one to bring this money up on this county council. Am I right, Mr. Carpenter? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Mr. Chairman, I
Go
still
ahead.
got the floor.
Go ahead.
But having said that, I appreciate the conversation. I respect everybody's opinion, and we'll be going into it more, I'm sure, tonight as we move forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Ben, do you mind if Mr. Brazel runs ahead? Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Has everybody got their hearts and minds clear?
Well, no, but you go ahead.
I got my opinion clear.
The preacher ain't got it.
I'm gonna time myself. Mr. Tucker, I hear what you're saying. We all care about the employees of the county. And we've had some good conversations. I think what we've had presented in front of us for a raise doesn't leave anybody out. And I've been told in the past that some people were just flat out left out, and that would be wrong. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. I think before Mr. Jones came in, I made the recommendation that we stay on topic and finish all these summary comparisons. But now we've went down 8 different rabbit trails, and we hadn't found a rabbit yet. So let's back up and let's finish the EMS fund. Let's come up with that solution and something that at least 4 of the 7 of us can live with. At that point, maybe we can talk about ARPA, and we can jump back on that sewer soapbox whenever everybody so feels like it's necessary. It doesn't have to be my idea. I brought forth an idea. Mr. Connell may be able to fine-tune it, and I think he'll be able to bring it back up, and I'll support his idea. I'm happy to support solutions. I don't care. I don't have to be the one with the idea. I'm not the smartest guy sitting at the table, I can assure you. But let's hone back in on what this is. This is a budget work session. Let's get to work.
Okay. Ben, are you complete, sir? Yep.
Question.
Others? Yeah. David?
So how much ARPA money are we getting? 13 million?
12 something.
12. Okay.
12.9.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not going to hold you to it, but 12. How much are you wanting to use for this bonus?
About 1.2.
So we got $12 million and 1.2 for employees. I just, personally, I feel like we can walk and chew gum at the same time on this one, y'all. I feel like we can move forward with some sewer improvements, and we can put some stuff away, and we also can invest in our employees, because this is what you got. This is what you remember. This is an investment, y'all. This is an investment in our human infrastructure. You know, we talk about investing in pipes and all roads and all this infrastructure, but there's also a human infrastructure that goes along with this. And we all know that government employees make below what they can make if they went to the private sector. And so anytime that we have an opportunity to invest in them in this way, I think we need to capitalize on that. There's a lot of people have been treated differently. You know, I tell my kid all the time, they're like, but that ain't fair. That ain't fair. Well, guess what? Different professions and different jobs have different advantages and disadvantages. There are people in the private sector that over their lifetime, they're going to make more than someone who worked in government. And you could say, well, that's not fair. That's not treating everyone equally. Well, we all made a decision to get into whatever enterprise and to whatever career that we're in. And for us to say that this is treating one group of people differently than the other, I mean, I just don't know if that is a compelling enough argument to not move forward on wanting to take a little bit of this windfall. And we can sit here and agree or disagree whether or not the government should have done this. That's way above our pay grade. That's way above the level that we were elected to do. So we can't have the argument here because it's not going to do anybody any good. The money's here, it's coming, and if Mr. Carpenter is suggesting that we use, 1 or 1.2 million of 12 to invest in our human infrastructure, I think it's a worthy cause, and I think it's something that we need to take very seriously. You've got many employees that maybe hadn't received a pay raise. Teachers, I know the school district was able to give bonuses to teachers, and I know different sectors were able to do. So through this whole COVID, everybody has had, in their own way, advantages and disadvantages. And I know for me, it's just a no-brainer. For me, in fact, last week I think I got distracted. I was texting. I was doing some church stuff, and I looked at Sammy Tucker. I said, "Wait a minute, are we talking about this? I thought this was a full green light." So I think we got to move forward. And then I've got some questions. When we go back to the employee pay rise, I want to talk about that too. But I don't know if we're just finishing ARPA or we're going back to. So can we run the numbers on? So you talk about 432. I would be interested to see the numbers on 3 being the bottom instead of 2. 3 being the floor.
So 3, 4, where there's 3 across the board.
I
Yeah.
said 4-3.
Or 4 being where 4 goes to the lower tiered employees.
4-3.
But as you move up, if you've got department heads who haven't received any kind of pay rise in years, just a 2% is nothing but a cost of living raise.
We could run some more.
And I'm not asking you to run that. But I'd be interested to see that number before tonight, so I can.
Do we have an approximate number so we can inform this discussion? We're moving right into a budget.
4 for the lower.
A bottom number 4, we haven't run those.
Yeah,
a bottom number of 3, we haven't run those yet.
Okay.
Or a top.
All right.
You think we can come up with some more? So we would start
3.
So the highest would be,
A 4.
okay, so we start at 4 for the bottom and then 3 for everybody else?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
4-3.
4-3. Yeah.
It's like defense. Come on, man.
That's right. That's
4-3
4-3
defense.
nickel, or is that a dime, or what is? I didn't play football. I only know about 2-1-2 and 3-2 defenses because I was a basketball player. Yeah. I would just be interested to take a look at that. I hate to. You brought a really great plan, so I'm not saying that this is not. I just would be interested to see how much that would cost us.
Mr. Snodgrass, if I may.
Yeah, sure. I'm done.
I've been working in a small business all my life.
Yeah.
It started in my grandfather's garage. It was like 3 people. As we've grown, I can tell you, I've always wanted to see everybody be successful, right? Mm-hmm. I tell my employees all the time, hey, I wish I could pay all of you $50 an hour and we all got $20,000 bonuses. Unfortunately, that's not reality. And I've been in a situation where I have to produce revenue in order to make payments, in order to make payroll. And it's real easy. I could sit here and say, hey, Vic, give everybody 10% raise, right? Everybody go, yay, thanks, guys. But that money's coming from somewhere. It's coming from the taxpayers' pockets. I hear you, Bo. I got a kind heart. I want to help everybody. I had some folks bring it up to me that they hadn't gotten a raise, I'm all for that. But I also hear what Ben's got to say, and I don't disagree with that. Once the money's dispersed, it's gone, Bo. It's gone. There ain't no reeling it back in. I have heard all I care to hear about the sewer system. It's a topic of discussion, and I mean, like, Jimmy's got a bromance with the sewer system, and he hates it. But let's solve that problem. I am flat out tired of hearing it. Let's solve that problem. Let's do something else. I don't have the rest of my life to talk about sewer. We can accomplish this. Here's an opportunity. Everybody's going to get a raise. Check. We want full-time fire. That's going to pass. There's enough people in this room that are going to vote for that tax increase, and that's going to pass. I don't like the way we're doing it. I am beside myself with the fact that we can't use money that we have instead of adding a fee on. That's a fact. It's been explained to me. I'll never be able to explain it to the constituents why they're having to pay more. I told my 93-year-old grandmother about it the other day, and her eyes got big. She said, well, we need somebody out here in our community. We're not getting anybody in our community. There's all kind of things that aren't right.
It's got to start somewhere, though.
Well, this is easy. We got free money, let's give it away. Let's give it to the employees.
Right.
That is not what we're doing, Mr. Brown.
That's not fixing any of the problems. Let's talk about things that can be within the... I was talking, Jimmy. Don't interrupt me. You get on me every time I interrupt you. I'm going to get on you for
Are you
interrupting
mad
me.
again? Are you mad at
No,
me
sir.
again?
I am just being as matter of
Russell.
fact. I am being matter of fact.
Breathe
Stop.
deep. Breathe deep.
Stop interrupting me.
Breathe deep.
So, Jimmy, don't interrupt me again.
Take a deep breath.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the topic here, please.
So what I'm trying to say is we've got things that have to be solved. The way I see this being structured, $13 million will be spent, gone in 15 different directions. And we'll still have issues with sewer and everything else.
Okay.
I don't think it's a either. I think it's a both and. Like,
Man, I
think
wish life was that way.
Well, I think this is. It's not like we're getting like $4 million. He wants to give away $1. We're $12 million.
Yeah, so, and 4 of it's allocated. We're moving $355,000 back into lost revenue, although we've actually made that up.
Right.
So we're really good there. We're spending $400,000 on studies. That blows my mind that we have to spend $400,000 on studies. Are we not smart enough to figure it out?
Can we stay on the topic here? We're working on the pay rise,
this-
okay?
I'm actually enjoying what he's saying personally.
This is right here. This is the topic. No offense, sir. COVID response, $2 million. Bo, COVID's over. It's going to be around. It's going to be around.
I do agree with that.
It's going to be around, but to say we need to allocate $2 million for COVID, I think is absurd. I think that allocation will be spent on something that I'll never know about in the course of the year. I think that's fluff. I think that's something that we're going to allocate it for this, but there's no telling what that money will be spent on.
Wait a minute. That is not correct.
That's not true.
That is absolutely incorrect. Ask the question if you want to find out what it's for.
Well, I understand what it's for, but
Okay,
I just don't see the need.
okay, that's
Well,
different.
We
jump
need
in?
we need to give the employees a bonus. Let's make it something that's realistic. I'm good with that.
Okay.
They need a raise because things are, we can't get guys to go cut the grass. Danny and I were talking about that this morning. Let's work through that. But are we doing that and we're going to have a study to open it back up to give another raise later, or is this it?
Those studies aren't, none of those are a pay analysis study. Those were the studies we talked about for East Camden, West Camden, or West Kershaw, those areas where we had to do studies, looking also for studies in the sewer system, rate studies, those kinds of studies. So they're the studies we talked about. They're not additional, but it does not include a study to do a salary analysis, no, sir.
So,
And if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. That's an estimate before we've gone out for bid. If the bids come back for $20,000 on a study, then that's what we spend. So the fact that there's a lump sum there, it just gives us the ability to do the study. It doesn't mean we spend that money. Any money we don't spend stays in the account. The $2 million for COVID response, again, there's no anticipated way it's going to be spent, but it does give council the ability to spend it. I'm not going to go and spend $2 million. I'm certainly not going to do it without council knowing what I'm doing.
Like I say, you can't.
So if it's
You're
not
not.
spent,
It's
it just
against the
stays
law.
there. So really what we've allocated is the lost revenues allocated and the employee bonus, about 1.5 million is actually dollar amounts that we know what it's going to cost us. Everything else, it's either depending on if we get bids, depending if we can do it. So 2.5 million of that quite likely could drop back into the COVID fund and still be there.
If y'all want to keep the sewer system, we need to allocate a large portion of this money to the upgrade. Because we're borrowing money left and right. We're putting $4 million into a public works facility. You know, I've offered some solutions there. I'm sure they were scoffed at behind my back. I don't care. We're wasting money left and right, and the residents are being left out. My entire district's getting nothing out of any of this. Nothing. And I'm going to see to it that something changes about that. We need some people in my community. Our fire department is just as old as that public works facility, and they've taken better care of it. We don't have an emergency responder that can get to the lake quick enough. Cassett is way too far away from some parts of the area of our county to be put in the fire station.
But it's got to start
in a
somewhere.
minute.
You'll never get the Pine Grove firemen unless you do this plan first, and then we grow towards that. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Wow. I'm about sleepy. I was up all night. I don't know what I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
You keep making that comment about the Holiday Inn Express like you think I know everything. I'm just using common sense, brother.
Okay, let's
First of
move
all,
on to the discussion.
Mr. Chair, please let it continue. This is the best meeting we've had lately.
Russell,
Okay, go ahead.
I think number one, I'm gonna say something that I think needs to be said. You're not gonna always agree with what goes on up here. You cast your vote according to your heart and your convictions, and you don't take it personal. I didn't say that to take a slight at you about the Holiday Inn Express and what you know and what you don't know.
Third time I heard it.
It was funny then, and I thought it was funny now. I was saying it to David to be exact.
Mr. Tucker, you do know he said I had a bromance with sewer.
Yeah. So I say that because you disagree doesn't make us enemies. That's not how this works. This system works on understanding and respecting one another, whether you agree or disagree on your vote. It's always been that way, and it won't change when I leave and when you leave. You're a lot younger than I am. So I would ask, in your becoming a more knowledgeable council member, that you have a little bit more patience and understanding that no one's directing anything personal at you. I'm not a personal attacker. I don't attack anybody personally. I speak my convictions and my heart. And I've always governed that way. Now, with that being said, I would like for this council to give the administrator the time. There's nothing has to be fixed in sewer. And we even said it wasn't even possible this budget cycle. We gave a direct order to our administrator by majority of council, and it's in your minutes for tonight. 5-1-1 was the vote. Am I correct, Ms. Mary? Okay, that means 5 said yes, 1 said no, and 1 abstained. You'll read them in the minutes tonight when you read the minutes. I say that because we knew that was going to take a little bit of time. We even went over, and I think the last work session with the administrator, what that time frame looks like. Will you have some numbers for us before January? Am I correct, Mr. Carpenter, by saying that?
Yes, sir.
So why are we backtracking now on what we've given the administrator a direct motion and order to do? That is my question here today. That's why I'm not willing to address sewer, because Mr. Jones said it correct. There's no numbers. You ask a man to do something, but you don't give him time to do it.
That's something you and I can agree on. I'm all for doing that study. I just don't want to see that $13 million vanish in the meantime.
Well, we'll keep our eye on it, and we'll keep it on top of discussion. And that's something I want to say too, because see, when you say things to that camera, hey people, everybody don't understand how the system works. And then it goes out as if we got an issue with the administrator spending inappropriate money. that hit me personally because I know that man personally, and that doesn't happen. He has a cap of $25,000 maximum he can spend. That's by law. There's nothing he's ever spent that we were not made aware of, even if it was less than 25,000. And that's what I mean about getting your feet wet and understanding what goes on and giving good information to the public so they can understand. Sometimes when you throw things out and there's not clarity, people have their own interpretation, and then it's not what it really is, and then it's misunderstood or misrepresented. And I don't want that to be the case, Russell, with anything that you say, because
Hey, I got no issue with it, but things are presented to us. We're supposed to be helping form this, and I feel like it's been worked in a way, and then it's set in front of us, and we get no time to. We actually don't have any influence, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to represent our areas, but I don't feel like I've had an ounce of influence because it's like, here, this is it. Raise your hand, yes or no. I think I got the votes I need to just make this happen. I didn't help form this budget.
okay.
I didn't have an ounce of input on employee bonuses.
Well, you can do that tonight. Back to bonuses. The way forward here is to formulate amendments to the budget tonight on ARPA and on the pay rise, in addition to the 2%. So I think we've heard from everybody. What we haven't heard from is from Mr. Carpenter. Sir,
I have one more question,
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Chairman.
please, go ahead.
In your history of being administrator, what was the largest raise that the employees of Kershaw County have experienced, if you can recall?
I
Would
believe
this
we did.
432, or if we went with 432, would that be the biggest, or is there something in the past?
I don't think we've ever done a 4% since I've been here. We've done
Okay,
it
so
3%.
what we're contemplating, and perhaps there could be a majority of council that would support that at 432, or Mr. Snodgrass mentioned 32 or 43, something like that.
4.3
But the
nickel.
432, which I could support, would be the largest employee raise in Kershaw County history. Is that what you're telling me?
Since I've been here.
Since you've been here?
Yes.
Okay.
Good God.
I think that's a big statement, personally. The biggest one in the history of Kershaw County could be voted on tonight. I mean, I think that's a big deal, and I can support it because of the issues I mentioned before about inflation, adjusting for competing neighbors, and maybe it happens again based on value added and market conditions next year. It's so strange. You can't predict what's going to happen. I won't go into why I got involved in politics, but I think that's big. I just want to draw that out. It would, in fact, be one of the biggest raises we're considering ever in the history of Kershaw County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
David.
Real quick. First of all, I just want to say, good exchange. Ben, I know you and I disagree on this, but just please know I see you as one of the brightest minds up here, and you're always good to think through things.
You got to clean your glasses a little bit on that one. Make sure.
Right, no, I just want to make sure. Like,
You just told me that.
I know.
He's never told me that.
Y'all know me. I don't like being at odds with anybody, so I just want to make sure, like,
Hey,
even
just
though we
remember,
disagree, we're still.
If you don't get Jimmy quiet, just say Alf Center.
But I just had this thought. So we're looking at this. So if you want to look at it through a private business, small business lens, I had this thought, Mr. Carpenter. How many years now have you come under budget with your expenditures?
Every year.
Every year. So every year we've spent less than you told us we were going to spend. Not every year, but in recent history.
Yes, sir.
And in some of those years we are. So would that be a result of department heads who watch their budget very closely and are good stewards of their budget?
Absolutely.
And would that also be a result of employees that work under them also taking kind of ownership or stewardship of their own budget and not just buying whatever they want to buy or spend?
Yes, sir.
And so for me, we talk about a bonus, or you talk about a pay rise. If you look at it from a small business standpoint, if you've got employees that save you money, if you've got employees that do the job more effectively and cheaper than what you thought it was going to cost you, sounds to me like those folks deserve some sort of compensation, and that's where I'm going to rest on this.
If I may,
Sure.
thank you. I have to say this. I really do understand some of Mr. Brazel's concerns when he talks about he feels like he's not a part of the process. I felt that way many, many times sitting here, and I'll probably feel that way, I'm sure, many, many more times. But I do appreciate the passion. And bottom line is, sewer is vital. I am the only person who has presented a way to pay for sewer without any cost to the taxpayers, and to have the money to go ahead and move forward, to do the expansion, have the money to move forward and take care of the Southern Loop, save $7 million on Southern Loop, save $20 million on the expansion. There's nobody up here that can tell me that plan won't work.
Mr. Jones, if I may.
Wait a minute, yes, sir, you just give me 1 second,
Yes, sir.
please. I'm being nice.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyway, it won't work without costing taxpayers something. My plan would not have cost taxpayers a dime. So I get frustrated about that, same way Mr. Brazel gets frustrated about some of the other things that he feels like he's just not able to maybe accomplish here or get understood here. I've been dealing with that for many, many years. But bottom line is we have to move on. And we have an opportunity here tonight to do that. And I'm certainly supporting that. And there's been many times I voted against the entire budget because of just what Mr. Brazel said. There was things in there that I just could not agree with. But anyway, thank you so much,
Okay.
Mr. Carpenter. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks,
you so much.
everybody.
Excuse me, I'm not finished. Thank
Oh,
you
I'm
so much,
sorry.
members of County Council.
Great. I propose we ask Mr. Carpenter for his suggestion. What is your recommendation?
Regarding what?
I'll let you.
The circuit of planets and their trajectory around the Earth, apparently. Look, back to you. ARPA and the 4321 pay rise. We already have 2%. How do you recommend? ARPA, how do you recommend? And with the input of your director heads and the probate and the courthouse and all that, what are you recommending in these two items before us in this work session?
Well, I'm recommending the 4-3-2 plan.
Correct?
For the reason that, again, we have never done, as Mr. Connell pointed out, a 4% for employees since I've been here. I think this
Good.
is certainly a time, as well as too many department heads have received minimal pay raises over the years
Exactly.
as well. The issue with the ARPA, again, as I've already said, this is not an expectation to spend all that money. But as regards county employees receiving a bonus, CARES Act last year put tens of millions of dollars into local businesses' hands through the PPP plan, which is payroll protection. Those businesses were supposed to take that money and use it to pay employees who weren't working.
Correct.
Whether they did or not, I don't know. We see stories out there of people buying Lamborghinis and whatnot, but that was the plan. The county wasn't part of that. We weren't allowed to be part of that. They explicitly stated local government is not getting any support or funds for this. So our general population has had an opportunity. The county itself put $1 million+ into the same thing, giving local businesses upfront cash to keep paying their bills, to keep employees on the payroll. So I believe that our local citizens have had that opportunity, and we didn't have that opportunity. So when the federal government comes and says, here's an opportunity, I'm going to take it for the sake of the employees. I'm not getting anything, but the employees would. And that's what's important to me, is that we've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And here's a chance to do, because those EMS guys, they were out there, they're putting themselves in a lot more risk. Those fire guys still responded to situations, didn't know what they were coming into. Bills were still being paid. We were still here, dealing with the public, running things out to them because they couldn't come inside the buildings.
Sheriff's
Our
Department.
convenience centers, yes, sir, the sheriff's department, the convenience centers were open. They never shut down. And they were out there. So, I absolutely strongly believe that this is reasonable and it's fair. We'll never see this again, God willing. We'll never have that chance. Now, if you're concerned with taking the money, and to use Mr. Jones's analogy of the P game, we could take that $1 million and pay ourselves back for the $1 million we gave to businesses, and then take that $1 million that was in our general fund and give it to the employees, if the paper trail of it being from the COVID money is the issue. So, there are other ways it could be done, but my recommendation absolutely is that we give this bonus to the employees because we have the opportunity, and I believe they deserve it. I believe that what they did in the last year and a half is something that's above and beyond. Okay, our employees didn't quit on us. You know, as you see by the breakdown of our salary range, a lot of our employees could have quit and made more money. You know, they could have gotten themselves ruled as eligible for unemployment, and then they could have got themselves for to pay their mortgages or pay their rent. They could have done a whole lot better, and they didn't. They stayed here and they stuck with it. So are they heroes? Yes, they are. In my mind, they absolutely are. And so I'm very strongly recommending that we do that for those reasons.
Yeah, I'm prepared to support, for my 1 in 7 vote, I'm prepared to support that recommendation. Other comments?
I think Mr. Brazel has.
Russell?
Oh, it was a fleeting thought.
Okay, others? I think with that, we can,
Mr.
yeah, please.
This was brought up a couple times about the budget, and I just want to say this because the budget is a process. It's just, we asked the administrator as a council to bring us a budget where it has fee increases, millage increases, no increases. He puts together the best budget that we possibly can have for the county of Kershaw. And then after that, it's our duty, our charge as council members up here, elected officials, to go through that budget and dismantle it if we want to, if we don't like it. And you get 2 bites at it. You get it on second reading, and then you get it on third reading. So this is not over tonight. What I encourage, Mr. Brazel, is that you get with your colleagues and voice your concerns and your interests to try to gather their support on seeing things that you see or what you may believe to be not as important or wasteful or whatever the thoughts may be. And that's the way that this body works, and it works this way in all 46 counties. I mean, it's not different in any other county that you go.
I thought that's what I did.
Well, I'm getting the impression that the budget is over after tonight from hearing some of the conversations I've heard today, and that's not true. I'm here to tell you no matter what is read tonight is not law. The budget will not be final until third reading. So if there's things that you still want to see different or change, get with your colleagues and talk it out and gather support for it, because that is the way the system works.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Connell.
You know, if council is set on taking $1 million of ARPA funds, and I'm not sure, I guess there might be more guidance needed for this, and putting it towards employee bonuses, it seems it would be, and this is to one of Mr. Brazel's points about let's address a problem. Like, we've got a problem in EMS where we don't have full staffing that we need. A $1,000 bonus to existing employees who are already there, I don't know that it'll fix that problem because you won't hire the new people in. It seems like if we could divide the $1 million up over, was it a 3 or 4 year period, and increase a salary range for a period of time. Or I would even be in favor of increasing the 432 percentage some more so that you have more attractive positions and can fix some of the systemic problems that we have as far as employment goes. And this is what Mr. Tucker has talked about in the past of increasing, you always call it the floor, increasing the floor sum so that you have more attractive pay for positions overall. I mean, that seems to me it would be wiser and allow you to fix some of the systemic issues that we have regarding employment in Kershaw County.
If I may.
Yeah, Jimmy?
Just a quick question. How many vacancies do you have in EMS right now?
Gerald?
National Guard.
Yeah, 2 and 1.
Military leave.
So basically you have 2 because we can't really count the National Guard because that's there. So you have that is not a vacancy. That position is filled. So you got 2 out. You know, I think for a long time we've been running under the national average with EMS when it comes to vacancies.
You mean you're doing better than most? Yeah.
We're under the national average.
You mean
hold
under
on.
in absences?
Yes, sir, let me clarify this. Mr. Gerald, is it not true that we are under the national averages when it comes to employment?
Come on down.
Come on down, Gerald.
We have been very fortunate over the past few years in our
You've done a
ability-
good job.
in our ability to fill slots when they came available. I think the national average is somewhere around, I want to say, a whole at an EMS service is somewhere around the neighborhood of like 2 months, 8 weeks. We have not had that.
We've
But
been
I-
doing better than that.
We have, yes, sir. But I will say that just in defense of what we are trying to do in EMS to stay ahead of these problems, is we've lost to date 16 full-time employees in 24 months. And those folks have systemically stated that wages and schedule is the reason why they're leaving. As was mentioned earlier, private sector versus third-party government is a major competitor for us. We cannot pay what the private sector pays their full-time employees.
And let me, and it's very well said, and I
Right.
don't disagree with you, but do you know that is the norm for government, what he just said?
But-
Let me finish.
Sorry.
That is the norm for government, what he just said. We're never going to be able to compete with the private sector. You can't do it. I guarantee you, we could talk to some of these department heads out there, and they'll tell you the same thing. You know, and I was a department head for 10 years. What he's dealing with is what I dealt with 25 years ago, 23, 24 years ago. But what we here on council do, and which we're trying to do with EMS as well, with others in the fire, is we try to do the best we can with the numbers we've got. There's only so much money. There's only so much you can do. But my point is, you are under the national average. You've done a great job. Your staff has done a great job. But that is the fact. And you're doing the right thing by fighting for your department. I'm not upset with that. And this is not personal. I actually admire the fact that you'll get up here and be under the national average of hiring, but you're letting us know why and how, what you're having to deal with. And if you didn't do what you're doing right now, you wouldn't be doing your job. So I thank you for that.
Sir, while you're standing at the mic, may I say, I've seen y'all's response team, and it was a car accident in Lugoff, and my hat's off to you. I think we need to do whatever we need to do so everybody in our community continues to have the best service. You know what you're doing. We don't know how to run your department. You do your job the way you see fit, and we'll support you, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
I think we're at the end of the work session unless you have other matters for us to consider.
That was it, sir.
All right, let's see you tonight at what time?
5:30. Same bat time, same bat channel.